pneumonia as a consequence and sadly die. So they can still rule on the cause and manner of death as evidence presented to them, but they don't need to hold an inquest. But if it's a suicide or an unexplained death, then if they feel there needs to be more digging into that, that's when they'll rule that there needs to be an inquest.
And will an inquest make things public as well? Would that also be a reason as to why family members wouldn't want an inquest to happen? Because it might put things out into the...
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah, I guess that might be the case. I mean, in my experience, families struggle with the notion of suicide.
Yeah.
You know, they really generally don't want to accept that their loved one committed suicide, which I totally get, because there's all sorts of psychological issues around that for them. You know, people take on a lot of blame. Obviously they shouldn't, but you know, it's a really difficult thing when somebody in your family suicides. So yeah, there may be issues around, you know, that they may not want those elements being discussed. But we do have problems with hidden homicides being staged and actually something that looks like a suicide isn't. So we have to make sure that they are investigated properly, because, you know, most people are sadly murdered by somebody they know. So if we have a hidden homicide and the family, or, you know, the partner, for argument's sake, is saying, no, we know it's a suicide, I don't want an inquest. What if it's not and they're responsible?
Yeah, because I know there's a push now to reinvestigate some deaths of women in the past that were deemed suicide.
I imagine there's quite a lot of hidden homicides that have been raw suicides, and that has been overlooked. And the other one that I'm really concerned about is people committing suicide who are the victims of domestic and family violence, and that is their last resort. They really can't see a way out of it. And at the moment, there is no punishment or no acknowledgement of culpability for the person who tortured them to the point where they killed themselves. That is a major problem for me, because I imagine a significant number of women, more than are being murdered by men, are killing themselves to get out of it.
Yeah, you've heard people say that the stats on domestic violence are distorted because that isn't included.
Yeah.
Suicides are not included. In other jurisdictions, not in Australia, then people are held accountable. Obviously, it can be difficult to demonstrate that somebody's suicided as the result of DFE, but it is happening, and it is totally under the radar at the moment. And as soon as it's suicide, there is no repercussion for the person who caused that trauma, and that's horrendous.
Yeah, and to change that would mean legislation.
Yep.
Legislative change, and the coroner is key to that.
Yeah. So imagine the coroner is recognising that, you know, more suicides being presented to them. There's evidence of significant domestic family violence, and that is a leading factor in that person's death. Then they can be advocating for legislative changes to ensure that people are held to account, which is what I would like to see.
Well, another great conversation about disturbing things.
Yeah, don't we have? Can we talk about like pets? Should we talk about pets?
We can talk about pets, but we tend to come around to the same themes.
Yeah, I know.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't have a lot of people I can talk to about these things. I think Matthew and I both appreciate that.
Well, I'm always here for you, Michelle.
If you would like to discuss these cases, or you have cases you'd like us to discuss, please get in touch with us on our Facebook closed group. Thank you, Xanthi.
Thank you.
If you need support after listening to this podcast, you can call Lifeline on 13 11 14 or contact 1-800-RESPECT on 1-800-737 732 or 1-800-RESPECT.org.au. Indigenous Australians can contact 13 Yarn on 13 92 76 or 13yarn.org.au.
The producers of this podcast recognise the traditional owners of the land on which it's recorded. They pay respect to the Aboriginal elders past, present and those emerging.
This is how US investing feels on stake. It's just fluid. You can tap into the world's biggest market on a platform that makes everything easier. Wall Street is effortless on stake. Get started on hellostake.com Onwards. This is not financial advice. Get business ready with Telstra Business Internet. It has your business covered with reliable connectivity, network security monitoring, and specialist business support. Get business internet. Visit Telstra today.
The future of furniture is here. Why buy ordinary furniture when you can come home to King? Save up to 50% on selected designs at the King Living Sale. Shop online or visit your nearest King showroom today.
This is the sound of a nurse's heart rate after they were shouted at, threatened, and grabbed. Aggression and violence against workers causes harm. Don't cross the line. A message from WorkSafe Victoria.
Every great mystery needs the perfect setting, and Overlow hotels across Australia are exactly that. Boutique, luxury, and a little unexpected. It's where style meets stories. And it's criminal not to check out their stunning restaurants too. Trust us, we love staying with them. Book now at overlowhotels.com.
But may you be happy. Try that, because what we're doing here is I used this phrase before, it's like counter-programming against the habitual storylines and narratives and thought patterns. And, you know, if you were an alien and you landed on this planet and you went to a gym and you saw people running in place for 45 minutes or systematically lifting and dropping heavy weights, you'd think it was really forced and strange. But this is what we do to exercise our bodies, and we have to do forced and uncomfortable things to exercise our brains and by extension our mind. And so this is just a little one you can do. Just when you find yourself enraged, you can even justifiably enraged, may you be happy. That doesn't mean you want the person to continue being a jerk, because if they were happy, they wouldn't be a jerk. But can you understand that maybe they're rushing their kid to the hospital, or maybe they've had a really bad life and they found themselves in a terrible position and they're making bad decisions. May you be happy. The words get caught in my throat saying it just because it is a little forced, but I think you can try it.
I know, and I don't want our listeners to miss the truly radical thing that you said in that answer. Notice that you're in a rage. That's it, because reactivity starts with you not noticing it and acting. Notice that you're in a rage. Say to yourself, I'm in a rage. You can't say, may you be happy, until you notice something about yourself. And the moment that you notice your own feelings, the moment that it becomes something that you can manage. This observation, this way of being, this way of thinking, and the practice of making so is an incredible gift. And it's been a gift to me in the last hour and a gift to our listeners as well. Thank you, Dan Harris.
As a social scientist, people are always my subject of choice. Each week, we'll share little audio snippets from our listeners around the world. They answered this question: when is the last time you remember being truly happy?
The last time that I felt or experienced happiness was the other day when I took my children to play in the park. I wasn't distracted by my phone. I wasn't streaming something on the device. I wasn't trying to read or debate or find out about something polemic or partisan in the media. I was in the moment with my children, letting them chase me, chasing them. In that moment when we were running together in this big field at the park, I felt happiness. It was definitely one of those moments when I felt joy. I could tell that this was a moment that I did not want to forget anytime soon.
We've gotten a huge amount of useful and interesting information on living better and more happily from Dan Harris. There's so much to digest, I know. But want to do now is to go back to the initial goal for this show, how to manage your feelings so they don't manage you. Here's where we start. Each day this coming week, set aside 15 minutes in the evening, after the end of your day, well, before you go to bed, of course, but where your day is more or less behind you. Go someplace where you can sit comfortably and relatively quietly. I mean, I know some of you are in circumstances, if you have little kids, for example, where quiet is at a premium. So let's just say relative quiet, and where you're unlikely to be disturbed. Now, think a little bit about the strongest negative basic emotion you had today. Was it anger? Were you sad? Did you feel disgusted? Were you afraid? Think about it. Observe it as if it had happened to somebody else.
The pickup point is 20. You've arrived near the pickup point. It's on your left.
Hello mate, how are you?
Suggest contacting and waiting for the rider.